everybody. Sorry it took so long to bring another video to you. Of course, while I'm taping this, there's a tractor behind me in the field, so I hope you can hear me well. I'll try to raise my voice a little. So welcome back. It took a little while for me to make another video. I've been extremely busy with all kinds of stuff. So last week I made a little compilation of what I've been doing the past 6 months. Just a little summary, I guess you'd say, a recap. But I've been meaning to do a video about lunging. Now, why do I want to do a video about lunging? Because to be honest, it's not a super important thing in terms of training for Doma Vaquera. They use it a lot for conditioning, mostly. When you buy a horse from Spain, you'll notice that they are quite skittish when they go into the lunging corral, because they're basically just, you know, put out to the end of the circle, the outside circle, and they're asked to run around. So, you know, in that sense, it's used differently, I guess you would say, than how I'm going to explain to you. So what I like to do when I teach people who are inexperienced or new to Doma Vaquera or new to really gymnasticizing their horse and getting their horse ready for, you know, more advanced exercises, I like to use lunging because it's a really easy way to straighten your horse. It's easier for most people that are inexperienced, that can't feel it when they're riding, and it's sometimes hard to explain to them how to feel and how it does feel when their horse is straighter or when he's moving more crooked. But when you do that with lunging, it's much easier because they can actually you know, see the horse, see what the horse is doing. So I'm by far not your straightness guru. That seems to be the trend lately. You know, I do know, of course, about straightness in horses, or crookedness really, and how to get them straight. So that's what I'd like to, you know, give you just a little bit of basics on how you can do that through lunging. And then, of course, later we'll talk about it when we get more into riding things as well. Because going forward, I'd like to ride Isolde a little bit more and show you a little bit more, you know, using Isolde as the schoolmaster to show you, you know, how we go from those basic exercises to more advanced exercises. So a little bit about that crookedness. So most of you probably know that, you know, all horses are crooked. You have to work on that. It's a continuous process. And what does that crookedness mean? Basically, it means it's kind of like people that are left or right-handed. Horses are left or right as well. And with horses, it means that they have one short side and one longer side. So their muscles on one side are shorter and the muscles on the other side are longer. So that means that the muscles that are shorter are contracted more. So when you let them move naturally, they'll move crooked. So instead of moving straight, if you would see them from the top, they would be slightly crooked. So you have this hollow side like a banana. So you have this hollow side in this convex side on the other side. So here on this side, the muscles are shorter, which means they're stronger because they can contract and make the horse bend to that side. The other muscles are longer. So what you have to do is work on both sides, really, because it, you know, depends on, you know, what you're doing, which exercises, but you need to make sure that those longer muscles become stronger and those shorter muscles become longer and more supple. And what happens then when the horse moves is what you have is that one side, so that shorter side, that inside leg is really stepping outside of the mass, and it's not carrying the horse. It's just pushing it, but it's not carrying it enough. So you can really get to a certain point where the horse has much more self-carriage and can bring its hips under its body and carry its weight all the way behind. And that other outside leg, that's the leg that does, you know, move under the mass, and that's the leg that you need to get to move more behind and be a little bit more supple, because it's used to stepping under the mass and carrying the weight. So actually, you know, on this side, so the muscles are shorter on this side, and stronger therefore, but that hind leg is actually not so strong. So you need to strengthen that hind leg and get the other hind leg to be a little bit more supple, a little bit more agile, as you will. So those are the things that I'll be pointing out when I'm lunging as well. What I'm looking for, the placement of the leg, the bend in the body, because a horse can move on a circle but that doesn't mean he's actually bending in his body. So those are very different things. And what I see a lot, and a lot of people say, oh, but I lunge with the double lunge, and that's great, and that's super effective. But unfortunately, what I see is that a lot of times the horses are still moving straight, but on a circle. And the whole point of moving on a circle is that you want your horse to bend, and you want your horse to place his weight and divide his weight equally across his 4 legs. So, the both two inside legs and the 2 outside legs. So that's kind of the whole point. And otherwise, it really doesn't help at all. You might as well just let them loose and do whatever. Which reminds me, before I do any proper lunging with a horse in terms of gymnasticizing and straightening the horse, I always do groundwork first. So, and when I say groundwork, this is also groundwork, but I mean a bit of natural horsemanship, if you will. I don't like the term natural horsemanship because it kind of, some people might think, oh, and then you get a little bit alternative, and it's all about nice horsey and no worky and stuff like that. But no, we want the horses to work, and we want the horses to be obedient. And any horseman like Monty Roberts knows, who's worked with people that actually have horses that need to perform every day, just like my father did with the trotters. You need your horses to listen, and any good horseman actually uses what they now call natural horsemanship, but it's nothing new under the sun. It was always there. There were different methods, like Monty has pointed out. There were more violent methods, but the natural horsemanship was always there. And good horsemen, they use that, and horsewomen, of course. So I always do that first, and what you do with that piece of natural horsemanship is you really establish the ranking. You make sure it's clear who's the boss, and what you want to do is you want to make the horse, you want to influence the horse with your body. So it's not only for the horse, but it's also for you to be more aware of your body, what you're doing with your body, because when you ride, you have to be aware of what you're doing with your body. And I see that a lot too. If I let people ride Isolde, who's super sensitive, if you're used to riding an average horse, you can compare it with a tractor, and then when you get on Isolde, it's like riding a Ferrari. She's super sensitive, and she'll feed back right away what you're doing. And what most people don't realize is what they're doing with their body. So, they'll be trying to just walk off, and Isolde will be giving them renfer and trafer. And I'll ask them, I'll say, what are you doing? And they'll say, I'm not doing anything. And then I'll look, and I'll see one of their legs is behind the girth. So of course Isolde is then moving this way or that way with her hindquarters. She'll do exactly what you say. So most people are not aware, and that's why groundwork, or that, join up, or natural horsemanship, whatever you want to call it, is really helpful, because it really makes people realize, because most horses are, all horses are really super honest in that sense. They'll do what you say, but most people don't realize what they're doing. So they're doing all kinds of stuff with their body, and the horse is doing exactly what they're saying, but they don't know what they say. It's like speaking a language. They think they're saying one thing, but in horse language, actually, they're saying a totally different thing, and the horse is actually doing what they're asking. So, that has to be established first, I would say. Only with that can you really effectively move your horse and mold your horse, because just like with riding, lunging is like molding. It's like the horse is clay, and with just your energy, projecting your energy, you can really mold your horse and make him into what you want him to be. You can make him bend, you can make him move, you can make him stop, you can make him go from left to right, because lunging is essentially the same as riding. It has those 5 principles I talked about. They have to move when you ask them to. They have to stop when you ask them to. They have to move away from your leg. They have to go behind, and they also have to go left and right. But the aids are slightly different, obviously, but those are the 5 basics. And if you have those 5 basics down, which starts with just loose in the corral, with that piece of natural horsemanship, then you can establish those things. And also it's a good way to get to know your horse, to see how sensitive they are, and if you're fluent or not. If you are fluent, if I'm trying out a new horse, I like to do that. I'd like to just let them loose in the corral and try them out, because it gives me a good idea of what they're used to, what their character is, how sensitive they are. but also what their real, when you start pushing their buttons, initially some horses will do everything perfect, but when you start pushing their buttons, then the real, the real character comes out. And also you can see if they've been quite spoiled or not, which is the worst, I can tell you. I'd rather have a wild horse out of the herd, doesn't matter how old they are, than a spoiled horse that has been, in that sense mistreated really, by letting him do whatever he thinks he wants to do, or her. So so that piece of lunging is super important. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to hang my camera around my neck, and then hopefully I'll be filming as Isolde's moving, and I'll be explaining what I'm doing, and show you what I mean by getting your horse to, place his feet where he should be placing, how to bend, etc. And you'll find that this is very helpful as you ride. If you do this, depending on how much you like, but once, twice, 3 times a week after or in addition to your riding, or you can always lunge before as well, as I've explained, because that's how they really use it in Spain. That's how Antonio uses it. He'll lunge before to warm them up, especially with the young horses, get some crap out of their head, get it out of their system. So once you get on them, you can focus and you can really, do what you really want to work on, and you don't have to waste time. So, and Isolde, she's like, what are we doing? Let's get going. So I'll get strapped up, and then I'll start explaining some real lunging in a minute. So I hope this is filming. You might notice, so I did a little intro. You might notice that things seem a little bit different now. The sun is shining. It's not as wet as yesterday. So yes, I did the intro yesterday because I had some technical problems, so now I hope this is all filming the way I want it to. Yesterday, like I said, I had some technical problems, so I had to put my GoCam on my helmet, my riding helmet. I'm not used to this, so you still have maybe itch. So I hope it's filming everything I want it to. So let's get started. So the first thing you see is that I'm lunging with a charreta, or a cavesson, basically, a carretón, as they call it. So this is always pretty much used in Spain for lunging purposes, as well as the riding, as I explained before on my thing about bridles. But this is a very important tool, I would say. Conventionally you see a lot of lunging being done with a bit, just a regular bridle and the bit. I don't prefer to do that. The cavesson is perfect, and especially the Spanish one, not the leather cavessons, because they tend to move around. But you really have utmost control with your cavesson right here. So if you see on her nose, I have it on the middle ring. There's 3 rings, so you can use it for anything, but I use it for lunging in this case. So then I of course put it on the middle ring. And really, if you lunge with a bit, I find it's like you would mold a piece of clay and put it off center. So basically, the clay is going everywhere, and you're not really accomplishing anything, and nothing is really happening. But if you have the cavesson, you have total control, because it's the utmost leverage you have. It's almost like, why they put rings through bulls' noses, because you have much more control. So this way, I can really use it as a perfect tool to control her, and like I said, no, good girl. Like I said yesterday, to control her and really mold her. So that's what I want to do with lunging, just like with riding, really. That's what you're doing as well, but for riding especially. So I'm really molding her into a certain shape. So I explained yesterday how horses are crooked. So you have one short side, one long side. So with lunging, you can really, it's an easy way to correct that, and not only correct it, but also see it. So if you're not that experienced, that you can feel it when you're on the horse, in this case, you can actually see it. So it's an awesome way to really, get your horse in not only great condition, because that's how it's used in Spain. Lunging is really mostly for conditioning, and like I said, with the young horses, that are quite high in blood and a little racy, is getting them focused on their work, which is a great, I told you that, you know, in the beginning, Albert Thorne, one of the great jumpers, he does that as well, so it's great for that. But, you know, if you look at the more classical riding, classical dressage, it's also a good way to start work in hand as well. Anything that you do, any groundwork that you do from ground, you really need to you know, have a good base, not only lunging but you know, freestyle as well, in a round circle like this, in a round pen. So I told you that yesterday too. I do that first. So Isolde's obviously been through all of that. So that's what I do first, and I really establish, first of all, ranking. I establish ranking, but also, you know, making them aware of your body language. So that's why, you know, before she would stop, or, you know, she'll pick up on those really subtle signs. I even lunge Isolde in the dark because we don't have lights here. So I do that in the dark. Thank God she's white. Come on. Thank God she's white. So I can see her quite well, but for some reason, or not some reason, but it's quite clear, because horses work not only with you know, your body language, but also your energy. So, you know, by working with them free, you can teach them, you know, to be very aware of your body language. They are, or actually it's making you more aware, like I said yesterday, because people really tend to not be aware of their body language. But horses are, and also your energy. So it's not only about the positioning, but it's also about your energy. So when we lunge, I like to be in the middle. I like to focus on, so I kind of imagine a line coming from my belly button here. So if you see the whip, it's coming straight from my belly button. And just a neutral position is positioning on her tummy. So, and that's basically your inside leg. So if I want her to go faster, I'll focus more on her hindquarters. So I'll move my body here, looking more towards her hindquarters, and I'll project my energy there. So she'll go, see, she steps a little bit faster. And if I want her to stop, she's already doing it because I'm already moving. If I just move my body language here, and actually not so much project my energy, but in some cases take it away, so then you're not activating her, then she'll stop. No, I don't want you to come in. So being aware of that is very important. So, you know, it's just like if any of you have done martial arts, you're aware of that core that's very important. You know, most people have seen Star Wars. It's really the force, you know. Is the force strong in you? I don't know. You have to find out. Your horse will be able to tell you. It'll tell you if you know, if you're projecting your energy the right way, and if you're using it the right way, and if you're fluent in doing that and aware of what you're doing, because that's what it's all about, being aware. So I have her going to the left now. Isolde is bent to the right normally. So I told you every horse is like left or right. So they're bent to the left or the right, just like a banana. So there's a concave side and a convex side. So her concave side is actually her left side. So she finds it hard to bend to the left. So on this side, you'll see she'll fall in. But because I'm projecting my energy here to her belly, no, she will stay out, and she knows by now the game. Here she goes. So I project it out, and then she moves her, project kind of against to her shoulder, and then she moves out, and that's what I want. I want that constant, it's like a bow and arrow, so I want that constant, that body to be strung in that sense that I'm pointing here to that, no, keep moving. I'm pointing here at the middle of her tummy, and she's you know, strung like a bow, so I've got that elastic contact, oh, flies. I've got that elastic contact with the lunge, and that's what you want to feel. And it's just like the reins. It's that feeling from, you know, the reins, from the activation you get behind, and that's what you feel in your reins. That's that contact. So now I actually want to go to the right. I already warmed up a little, as you can see by the sand. So I wanted to go to the right. So in that case, you know, using natural horsemanship and groundwork, I'm going to, in a minute, turn towards her head and keep projecting my energy. And basically we're using that principle of ranking. So your place is my place. If I'm going there and I'm I'm the boss. You can't go there. So she has to turn around and move the other way. So you'll see, there she goes. She's like the circus horse. She knows it all. So this is her easy side. So when I'm making her move, like I said, I'm constantly basically kind of projecting out, and I want her to be strung like a bow. So on this side, she finds it easier to bend herself, but what she does with this leg, like I explained yesterday, this leg is actually the leg that normally would not step under her. It would not step under the mat. So if I don't watch out, what you'll see is that outside, or sorry, that behind inside leg will step in the footprint of the front right leg, or on the inside of that. But what I want her to do, and she's doing it quite well now, is to step on the inside of that front foot. So I want her to step on the inside of that front hoof print, and that's what I'm going to ask her to do. And I asked her to do that. Oh, there she went. Good. So I'm asking her with my clavicin, I'm asking her to bend in. So I'm asking her inside, and at the same moment I'm projecting her out with my energy and with my body language. So if I ask her in and I'm pushing her out, the only thing she can do is bend. The only thing what you want to watch out for, though, is if you do that too much and they, if you push them more than they're capable of, then what you'll get is that they step out with their left hind leg. So their hindquarters will sway out. I'm not sure if that's the right word or if that even is a word, but I think you know what I mean. So basically they'll go, start sidestepping. Basically, do a shoulder in, as you would say, but we like shoulder in. But in this case, I want her to bend. So I want, in this case, for her to lengthen her outside muscles, her left muscles, and contract her right muscles. But actually, this way, going to the right, she can do that quite well. So I don't really need her to do that. But on this side, I really want to make sure she steps under with that inside right leg, and that's what she's doing. So I'm asking her to do that. So I'll ask her to trot now. So again, like I said, you project your energy to the hindquarters if you want her to move, if you want her to go faster, and to her front if you want her to go slower. So in this case, I want her to go faster. And I'll use my whip as well a little because I'm trying to keep a stable, come on, Nicola, a stable image here with my helmet and my camera on. So here in trot, I'm asking her to trot on, but I'm asking her to bend. So I'm asking her from the front, I'm asking her and I'm letting go. I'm asking and I'm letting go. And there she goes. She already starts lowering her head. But I don't necessarily want her to lower the head the whole time, because you see that a lot. It's such a, the thing is that the horses, they're moving with their nose to the sand like she's going to do in a minute. See, if I lower my hand, she will go. So she's following my hand just like she would under saddle. But what they tend to do is when they lower their head, really with their head at to the sand, to the bottom, is what they do is tend to not bend as much. So I'm looking for bend in this case, because I want her to be more straight, and I want her to divide her legs equally on each side of the circle that I've created here. And as you can see, I've started quite a small circle, but that's because I want more bend. So I always start in a circle, I guess you'd say, 4 or 5 meters, I guess, 6, depending on how crooked or how non-flexible your horse is. So, come on. Just to be able to ask them more bend. And you start obviously walking first, and now I'm asking her to trot. And what I'll do from that circle, first I'll do a small circle both sides, and then I'll switch and I'll do the other side. So let's switch her anyway. So oh, good girl. I slowed down. I deactivated my energy projection, as you would say. That force, the force is strong. And then I just moved my weight a little bit towards her head. So if I go now, if I turn, now she's gonna act like she doesn't know. one on this side too. Yeah. She's not paying attention because I think she thinks I'm on the phone or something. So when I'm on the phone, she's not really with it. Good girl. I have to use my whip a little bit more, which is okay, but I like to use the whip anyway, because sometimes I can really pinpoint what I want. So if I want her tummy to go out good, or her hind back leg to move under a little bit more, then I can ask that. So on this side, this left leg, hind leg, is used to stepping under. So what I want here is I want Matilda likes to stop to fart, not to poop, but just to fart, because she is a princess, a diva. As you can notice, by the way, she got particularly disgusting dirty for you guys. She's always the whitest horse ever. I don't know what she's been doing, but she's absolutely disgusting for her standards. She keeps her stall super clean. She really poop at the back. And I think that's because she doesn't like to stand in her poop, and I know she doesn't. So I don't know what she's been doing. But anyway, so on this side, I have to make sure I keep her out, but I have to point more towards her shoulder, because so we're not going to stop to fart. If I would move towards her hindquarters like I do going to the right, then she's going to sway out, like I said. So then what you'll see is her right hind leg will be going, will be stepping outside the print of her right front leg, and that's not what I want. I don't want her to sway out. I want her to bend, because this is the side she finds more difficult to bend. So to do that, I'll project a little bit more at her shoulders, but I have to watch out she doesn't go over her shoulder either, so that she just bends, in with her neck and doesn't bend her body. I want her whole body to bend. So I keep her going forward. Good girl. I keep her going forward, and I ask a little bend, and I let go, and I ask a little bend, and I let go, and I watch that right hind leg and make sure that leg, I'm not asking too much bend, because then she's going to sway out, because she's going to make it easy for herself, see? So, and that's not what I want. I want her to actually bend. And also notice the tempo. We want to keep them active, not too fast, but also not too slow. You need enough impulse going. So she's moving nice now. She likes to put her head down lately. Like I said, I'm not necessarily looking for that. I'd like a level head carriage. But, of course, in between, you can let them drop their head. There she goes. Just keep the momentum going. Drop their head, relax, and then ask them to come up again. We're going to slow down again, so I'm going to project to the front, and then she slows down. I'm going to turn around. You see how you lost her out of the image for a minute there? That's because I was turning in front of her, projecting, in front of her, so as if I was going to walk in front, so she had to stop and she had to turn. So, and we're trying again, trotting. Good girl. And as you notice, I don't really talk. I'll click a little bit, but I don't say walk or trot, or Dutch trot is called draf, and they say draf like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, she's going to. There's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but I like to do it based on my body language, so I don't talk. And also, it's kind of good practice. When you ride Doma Vaquera, you are not allowed to talk. Good girl. You're not allowed to talk to your horse. You're not allowed to click to your horse. You have to remain completely silent. So that's good practice. So now we're going to make that circle a little bit bigger, keeping the bend. So here, this is a tricky one. She's not going to want to step in her poop. Now she's going to go around that awkwardly. So you want to maintain that bend, maintain the tempo, and then you just ask for the next gear, really. So in a minute, so I make the circle slowly, make it larger. So and continue to focus on her stomach. In this case, she's going to the right. I don't want to focus on her shoulder, because this side she already moved out anyway. So but I want her to move out from the hind leg. So I will focus more here towards her tummy or her hindquarters. Good girl. Because I want to make sure that right hind leg is stepping under her mat. Because this is the weak hind leg. No. There she is quicker. She thinks we're going to canter. And we are. It's just not yet. Now we'll canter. Good girl. Yes. Jump over the poop, Isola. God forbid you'd actually step in it. Roll in it. Not step in it. Isola, she hates stepping or rolling in her poop. Loves a good mud bath or sand bath. She'll definitely do that. I mean, I guess what princess doesn't like a good mud bath or mask. So this is the same. You keep them going and you ask for bend. You ask and you let go. You ask and you let go. You don't want, see how the lunge line is loose? It's loose, but I do have contact. But I don't want it to be constant contact. One time I had somebody lunge her when I was away for business. It was only like 4 or 5 days. And I came back and I thought, what is wrong? And she was kind of leaning on the lunge line and I knew kind of what had gone down. So I asked the person, I said, how did it go with lunging? And they said, oh, it went great. I said, really? I said, well, why don't you just, lunge her, show me how you did it. And lo and behold, he had kept too much tension on the lunge line. So that's what I was feeling when I came back, was this tension on the lunge line. Because he had kind of held her and let her lean on it, and that's not what you want. You want them to carry themselves, stay in balance. I'll ask her to go back to a trot. Stay in their own balance and not leaning on the lunge line. Good girl. Pretty good for 22 years old. 21, sorry. Good girl. So then I'll reel her back in, and I'll slowly, just like I did making the circle larger, I'll slowly make the circle smaller. So making sure, just like we would do riding. So they step over and under. No, that goes a little bit too fast. And always keep your lunge line, in order. I always say, if you can't control your lunge line, how can you control your horse? If your lunge line is a bloody mess by the end of the lunging session, how did the lunging session go then? If you weren't able to even keep your lunge line in a nice, orderly manner, then I don't want to know what happens lunging. Your horse should be mannered enough that he gives you time to do that, and you should also take the time. And it's easier then to control your horse in all those, small movements in and out, like I said. And here in the end, I'll just let her drop her head. Oh, get a little itch there. And then go back to a walk. So that's just a small, intro into lunging, how I do, how I prepare the horses for the actual riding. I do this with young horses. I do this with horses that have to be retrained. It's nice now with you, so that you don't have a lot of time. You're still doing something. Like I said, any horse can go on a circle, walk on a circle, but you want your horse to actually gymnasticize. You want to, make it effective what you're doing as if you were riding, and not just, moving on a circle. They can do that by themselves. They don't need you to do that. So, really make the best of it. And it only takes 30 minutes max for a good, effective lunging session. Or you can do it to warm up, like I said. Do it before you actually ride, and then you've already got them loose and stretched. When I do things like this type of lunging and also work in hand, working from the ground, I call it horse yoga, because really you're stretching them, you're molding them, like I said, and you're trying to get them in the best possible symmetry to be able to do their work the most effective, and it really makes a difference. So I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more. As we come back every week, I'll show some more riding going forward. But I thought this was really important to get this done as well and explain a little bit, especially for people that, like I said, aren't as experienced. You need your horse straight to be able to go further, get further with any discipline, but especially with Doma Vaquera, because you're going to ride with one hand. If your horse isn't straight, it's really hard to move on a circle correctly. So super important stuff. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Let me know if there's any questions or comments you have. And we will see you next time. Thanks again.